So proudly we hail, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Freedom Network. We're live right here, right now. Yes, we are. We are live, and we're going to have a great show tonight. Constitution for Freedom at gmail.com is how you email right on into the computer here. You can also give a call. Phone number's right there, 508-266-0990. We're going to talk about a whole host of different things tonight. Groups and links and all that stuff, Facebook, social media, just send an email and I'll send you back a link. It's a lot easier. Tonight we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. I had a fantastic last minute message from a good friend, Mr. Alan Waters, who is right here now live in studio with us.
How you
Look,
doing?
just like that. Coming on in.
Right, straight in from Mashpee.
Welcome to the Freedom Network, man. Welcome back, I should say.
Welcome back.
You're a frequent flyer.
That's right, I am.
We'll get in.
I love to be on your plane.
Yeah.
Nice
having
about
you.
that.
Nice
That's
having
right.
you, my
That's
co-pilot.
right. That's
my
right.
co-pilot. All right,
Co-pilot.
we got John on the phone. We're going to be doing some 9/11 talk tonight. I want to know what your thoughts are on the events of the day. Do you believe what happened as it was told? Do you have your own theory? I also want to know your opinion on the state of endless wars with no real end in sight. Any local items that you have are also welcome. Alan is here. We're going to talk about the fair tax. It will be very difficult to fit this show in by 7:56 or whatever it is, but we're going to do our best to do just that. So let's go right on to the phone line and start right there.
Yep, let's start on
All right, let's start on the phone. So I'm sitting here like I'm in the old radio days, just waiting.
it.
Like, all right, get the guy on. I got to get the guy on, so
get him on?
I'm going to
Okay.
get the guy on. That's what I'm going to do. I've been talking to him on Facebook throughout the day, and I want to welcome you to the Freedom Network. Hello.
Hello, Gary.
Hey, John. There you are. I can put a voice with the typing now.
Yes, finally we speak.
Finally, we speak. Absolutely correct. So, we were talking a lot about 9/11, and first of all, just a little bit of background. You have some pretty good credentials. Can just tell people briefly who you are and what your background is, just so we have a little idea of who we're talking to.
My name is John Abrahamsen, or Abrahamsen. You can say it any way you want. I don't really care. And I'm an engineer. Work at a medical products company now, but I've worked in CAD/CAM and for the Army Corps of Engineers on IBM Notes products over the years. I've been in high tech for 38 years. I have an undergraduate degree in physics, and then I did a lot of software all my life in a production environment now that does, FDA regulated production of medical products.
Do you have us on a speakerphone by chance?
No, I have you on a Bluetooth.
On a Bluetooth. Okay, because it's just a little, breaking up just a little bit in there. Obviously, listening, I mean, you've certainly got some serious credentials. We were talking about 9/11. Let's just bring everybody up to speed. What we were talking about was actually the relationship between the first tower that fell, the second tower that fell, Building 7. How they all seem to fall identically. We were told that the towers fell because of jet fuel and extreme temperatures.
Yes.
And they literally fell right down into the...
Collapsed on themselves.
Right on themselves. But there was no plane that hit that Tower 7, but yet it did fall the same way. And I've heard a lot of people telling me why. And we've had some discussions about it. I wanted your opinion, John, on that, if we might be able to.
My opinion is that the building was pre-wired because its collapse was planned, and it's the great tell of 9/11 because somebody screwed up. In my opinion, it was supposed to go down when probably the second tower went down, and all being hidden by the cloud of dust, which is a whole other problem.
Yeah. What do you think, Alan?
So this was a planned event, in my opinion, and it wasn't done in any way, shape, or form like the official story or by the people.
Well, you've got a background in science, physics, and things like that.
Yeah.
What's the steel deal? What's the deal with steel?
The steel that the towers were built from was really high quality steel that normally steel will not melt until 2,800 degrees Fahrenheit.
Does jet fuel burn at that temperature?
No. Jet fuel is basically kerosene, which burns at around 1,000, 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit in the best conditions with the best amount of oxygen.
Interesting.
Um, And there's a whole other a bunch of issues. The jet fuel wasn't painted on every single beam inside the building, all around the whole thing, 110 stories. It was just the one or two stories affected by the fireball. But in fact, the jet fuel is really not even a factor anyway, even on those floors, because in the first 15 seconds in that fireball, that was probably most of the fuel.
Well, I often thought that.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you have this big explosion. And this is what I mean about 9/11. I am so lost on reality because I don't feel I can find reality on this topic. I just don't feel I can find it because there's always a guy like John that's educated, knows what he's talking about, that's going to give you some information, and then there's always someone else that contradicts the information.
That's right. It
So
goes
how do
back
we
and
know?
forth.
How do we know what the hell happened?
Well, you have to understand at least enough of the laws of physics and chemistry to think for yourself of who's telling the truth, because someone's not if they're contradicting each other.
Sure. I mean, it can't be all ways, right? There's got to be
I mean, both people could be not telling the truth, but if they're contradicting, one of them's not, for sure.
The way that the building was designed, there was no. You don't believe there was any potential of a pancake effect, although it was built strong.
No.
You never
As a matter
expected
of fact,
a plane to land into it and blow up.
I know that's the official story from NIST.
Mm-hmm.
I believe NIST is politically compromised and is covering up
Gotcha.
in this case.
So about the building and the structure of it. Then you've got two other situations where you've got the Pentagon, and then you've got the plane that crashes down. Very little info on that. How is it?
Where was that plane? Was there a plane there? I didn't see a plane.
Well, it's interesting. That's
Shanksville?
Shanksville, but
I didn't see one.
I get really concerned about. I mean, we can see things happening in New York, and New York is a busy place, but there is nowhere I can imagine, maybe aside from the White House, that should have more cameras and angles and people around and stuff going on inside and out than the Pentagon. But there's really no footage. There's no, I mean,
Well,
why
there
can't we
is
see it
footage.
like we saw it?
Show it to you because it doesn't show what they said happened.
Well, what do you think
They
happened there?
took the footage. I think it was a drone or a cruise missile. It wasn't a plane at the Pentagon.
And what would you base that on?
The fact that the hole was small.
That
and
was a
there
pretty
no
small hole,
debris
wasn't it?
Outside of the building, except for a few
It was a
small
small hole,
pieces.
Gary.
And the wings of a 757 are over 100 feet wide. They wouldn't fold and go into the hole and not be found inside the hole. They would be outside the hole or inside the hole, but they wouldn't not be found at all.
And is the theory that,
The
again,
tail's like 30 feet high.
so the fire, the explosion just disintegrated this stuff? Now, I had heard, but haven't seen.
No, I don't believe that things happen like that. I think the laws of physics apply. And if you look at other plane crashes into mountains, for example, in Shanksville Cape, and you see all this debris, all these pieces, tons of stuff.
Yes, there usually is in a
No,
plane
it's
crash.
just a hole.
John, there usually is, and I'll tell you, you got me thinking earlier today. So I spent my lunch break today on YouTube looking at video of buildings collapsing and on fire. Now, I just had it in my mind, I forgot, but there was one that burned for literally days. It was do you, John, know by chance, was it Malaysia? It was somewhere. Burned for days, a high rise. Never collapsed and pancaked like that did.
There's a lot of examples, yeah.
And I couldn't find one that showed what happened on 9/11 to any of those buildings, which leads me to then
Okay,
right, so you got to logically think.
The cause was normal office fires. They don't even talk about the jet fuel because they know that burned off. So they don't talk about, they say normal fires made these 3 buildings fall, 2 were hit by planes. And when you know that those are the only buildings of that type of construction that have ever been blamed on falling from normal office fires in the history of the earth, there's something wrong with NIST.
Yeah, this is where I
Somebody's
get.
got the gun to NIST's head saying, you're going to make this work.
This is where I get lost
Somebody
in
with
this whole
power.
thing, man. This is where I get lost. I get lost right at the beginning, beyond even the Pentagon, any of the other stuff. How is it that if something that has virtually never happened, or I can't find it, you can't find it happening, so it's never happened, now it's going to happen once, it's going to happen again identically, and then it's going to happen a third time identically on basically in the same 12-hour period. It just doesn't make, I can't get my head around it. So let me ask you this. Why? What is the reason then? If the theory is, as you said it, what would your hypothesis be of the theory of why they did it?
Somebody wanted to do a bunch of things that the American people would not agree to. And they needed a big event, like as the PNAC group mentioned in a report in the year 2000. PNAC, the Project for a New American Century, they said, we probably can't accomplish the things we want to accomplish absent some sort of catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor. That's a quote from their report. This was the new Pearl Harbor. This was the thing to galvanize everybody and get everybody behind the government, to go to war, to accept the TSA and the DHS invading and taking away our liberties and patting us down and taking off our shoes and all these things that they implemented that we would have never put up with without the boogeyman terrorism.
So it's perpetual war.
Logical operation.
It's perpetual. We were going to talk about perpetual war tonight as well. It's just, to me, I can find benefactors big time, and I think you got a call. If you need,
I don't have a call.
Oh, all right. Maybe I got a call. I must have a call. If someone's trying to call in right now, we got John on the phone. If you want, send me an email. If you have questions for John, I don't have the dual phone set up, unfortunately. I wish I had thought of that now.
Next
because
time.
we did, remember?
Right.
We've
Yeah,
done
it's
that for
big.
you.
Yes, I remember.
But in any event, try to send me an email real quick. I know that John's time is limited here with us tonight, and I do appreciate you being here with us on the Freedom Network. I think it's important to be able to have these conversations and not to always naysay the alternate theory. I don't call them conspiracy theories because I think that the conspiracy theory words, if you will, are designed to put people that don't agree over there as like nutcases, you know?
Absolutely. That's
weaponized to discredit people who didn't believe the Warren Commission report of the JFK assassination. It was weaponized by the CIA to make people not listen to people who didn't believe the Warren Commission report. But then in the end, we had the Commission on Presidential Assassinations, which reinvestigated JFK's murder and found out that the Warren Commission report was wrong and it wasn't a lone shooter. And then the media ignored it. So most people didn't know about that report from the other commission.
Well, yeah, and
this is a weaponized thing. They weaponize conspiracy theorists so that it's like calling someone a name. No one will listen to them anymore. You're crazy.
Right.
So
I do believe, yeah, John, I agree with you there. I think that, and that's why I call them alternative theories, because they're alternative to what the
official theory.
The official theory.
There's official
and,
theories.
you know, anytime the government shows up and says, "Hey, here's the info," or "I'm here to help," or anything like that, my skeptical radar goes berserk.
That's right.
And I say to myself, you know,
time to run.
Yeah, I got an email here, John, and this is a very interesting conversation. You should have John in the studio someday. I would like to see him with someone from the other side, but I am like you, Gary. I don't understand, and then I lose it. I don't know if you hit send too quick. I don't understand either email.
I'm trying to make up for all the years I believed the pancake theory, and I didn't think about it because I'm embarrassed.
Well, you know, it's true. It's true. People say that they kind of wake up, or people will say that a lot in politics. And as you do wake up to certain things, it allows you to then critically think. And that's what's so important is in politics, there's no critical thinking. We see it all the time, whether it's about, you know, people that loved Obama, people that love Trump, people that they don't have the ability to just look at something critically. They want to accept the answer that's given. And
All the time from both sides. So, you know,
Right.
They're
Well,
always
let me tell
doing
you how
that.
it works.
They're not
There's
asking
a
the
quick thing I
questions.
want to tell you how it works. It's called trauma-based mind control.
Okay.
They showed us this horror, this horrible, the largest snuff film ever made on television in live time, with thousands of people dying, jumping out of buildings. Horrible. We're all traumatized because we know what it means, what we're looking at. It's not a movie, right? And it's not funny, and we're all deeply affected by it. Meanwhile, they're reading to us what they want us to believe about it, and it's all lies. So it means the media is involved.
yeah, the media absolutely.
They
And now,
were
so
reading, telling us. By that afternoon, they knew exactly the names of everybody that did it.
I know
Before they
that's
blew up in
bizarre,
those
isn't it?
planes.
They even know where
But
they.
they do their work so
It
quickly.
was a week, I think, and they knew where to go to find the where they trained,
Everything.
the
They had all
airfield.
the answers within
Exactly.
hours.
Who it was and
Yeah, that
walking
was a
into
little
the plane,
quick,
that
wasn't it?
That was very, yes, it,
It
was
was a little
quick. When you
quick.
think about it.
It was a little quick.
Especially at that time. It's
But
a
they
little
had to
while
do it
ago
that
now.
way because that's how they get it into everybody's brain, because they're hearing it when they're traumatized and they're in fear.
Yeah.
They're seeing it.
So, what do you think?
I have to tell them then.
What do you think
It's a
about?
psychological trick.
Well, just before us, I know you got to get going in a few minutes, but what do you think about?
Stretch it a little bit.
All right, what do you think about the fact that you know we're still sitting here fighting this war? Um,
Yeah.
we have no clear enemy. We're not fighting any one thing. I think that
We're not
links.
actually fighting. We're not actually fighting a war against what they say we are. We're cementing the next positions: the pipeline from Afghanistan, the lithium in the mountains, and the poppy crop for the drug dealers who are elites, and some of them are politicians who deal with heroin.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why we went to Afghanistan. That's where we blamed Bin Laden. He had nothing to do with that.
Well, you've got tons of pictures that can back that up.
Are we going to protect the crop or to take the crop?
Protect it, because it was way down under the Taliban.
Got it. Okay.
Look at the
Interesting.
poppy crop production and how it went up after that. So that was the reason for Afghanistan. And Saddam was a threat to what? If Israel wants to increase its borders, Saddam was definitely in the way because he was powerful. So he got blamed
Who was?
years later.
Who do you think?
He was another object of the thing. They said he was harboring terrorists. Those were lies.
Who? Saddam?
He wasn't a
I
great
mean,
guy. But he was our
Taliban?
puppet, and then he wasn't useful anymore because somebody
That's
else
what I was saying. Yes.
Yeah.
who
Well,
we wanted to help
Yeah.
wanted to get hegemony in that area of the world. And that's one of the reasons 9/11 happened, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a definite mess. I really, honestly, and truly am not 110% sure what to believe. All I know is that I don't believe the narrative I'm being told. And I want to question everything. I want to. I think it's my duty to question everything. And when I do,
I strongly recommend that you check Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. I've worked with the founder of it, Richard Gage, the architect from San
Yep.
Francisco.
sure.
And he lays out the evidence that they were able to collect, even though a crime scene investigation was not done. People did collect evidence in the microspheres and all the other weird things that happened at the collapse. It's more than just controlled demolition, in my opinion. It's stuff we've never seen before on this earth that probably got developed from Tesla's research. He was the real genius, you know, if you're talking physics, not.
All right.
He gave
Well-
us modern civilization with the electric light, the electric power transmission, the power, and radio. They took it away from us. He was the genius. He had other things he had developed. They might have demonstrated for us right in front of our eyes and told us it was something else. In other words, I say to people, on 9/11, whoever they are, the leaders, the people who did this, pissed on our heads and told us it was raining pellets.
Interesting. Interesting.
Alan
Division.
said nothing to do with this.
You got
This was in
any
this
other questions, Alan,
Oh,
for
They're
John?
being used as more of a boogeyman, and some of them are joining up, probably out of naivete, and being used.
So obviously the good,
So I don't take it out on the Muslims. I don't think Sharia law is good. It's not compatible. That's not religion.
All right, John. One final question, John, from Alan. One
So,
final question.
do you think the end game of all of this has been achieved, or is this just a continuum and we're waiting for another shoe to drop
Oh,
somewhere?
it's more. There's more, and we got to stop it, or else we're finished.
I would think that that's a perfect spot to end on, because you're right. If something's going on and we don't
Ultimate
stop
world
it, we will
domination
be
is the
finished.
goal.
That's right.
We will be finished. Hey, John, I want to
World
thank you
government
very much for coming
all
on
total
tonight.
control, no free speech, no rights, nothing.
No, we do not want to go that way. So, hey, some point, let's get you on in the studio. But thank you so much for taking some time out. I know you're busy tonight. I appreciate you being here, man.
I enjoyed this first time, and thank you for the time, and I enjoyed talking with you.
Thanks,
You
John.
got it. Anytime. There he goes. Off he goes, just like that. See, from social media to television.
The television.
Look at that. So,
Boy, when you start to think about these things,
I mean,
they,
he's got some things that he says, and that's why, like the emailer had said, what I am trying to find, and I'll put it right out there, is I want the opposite of John also. I want the opposite of John. I want somebody that's learned,
an official,
educated,
perhaps,
that can debate this out. I
Okay.
want to see a debate right here on the Freedom Network between people that I would think know what they're talking about, that can maybe get some kind of a conversation going. Obviously, there's a huge conversation going. But Alan, I mean, we've been doing war for a long time.
That's right.
Undeclared war.
Undeclared war.
Undeclared. No Congress, neither House of Congress has approved a war.
That's right.
But yet 17 years later, we're still at war.
Well, I think that we're all still at war is because it's a battle of ideals between the West and the non-Western forces.
Well, it's convenient. It's
Yes.
it's very convenient. You know, everybody's got their role to play,
Yes.
and everybody's playing their role.
Right.
And at the end of the day, Americans are being killed,
Yes.
and innocent people are being killed all over the world.
All over.
And we can all see the pictures of soldiers out by, you know, the poppy fields and stuff. But yet I don't see pictures of that being destroyed. So what are we doing with it, right? And everybody's got a theory on that as well. So there's all these theories out there, all this stuff out there. And like Trump talks about a lot, you know, fake news and what's real and what's not. Somebody's got to talk. And that's, you know, when I talk to John next time, I'll tell him, I mean, these things I would think would take quite a number of people to conduct such a attack and plan it and put detonators out and all this stuff. How, I mean,
And how did they?
and nobody
escape?
said nothing?
That's right. No one said anything.
17 years later, no one has said anything.
Well, you know, I mean, people who know the Clintons disappear, so who knows what happened to these people?
This is true. This is from Tom. Tom says, look at the Gulf of Tonkin. It never happened, but Johnson used it to get us into Vietnam. Interesting. Well, you know, that's interesting. That is interesting, because I just so happen to have, this is interesting. See, my feeling on war is very simple. We have many, many, thank God, brave people that are willing to make that ultimate sacrifice if they have to.
From all over our nation.
And they are amazing people, right? That are, that want to respect them. People say respect the troops, honor the troops. Question what the hell your government's doing with the troops. Isn't that how you, I mean, those of us that are not serving need to help to protect these people, and quite honestly, from our own government. To this day, right now, today, we have got troops fighting and dying. We don't even get news reports much about it anymore.
No.
We've been what's the word I'm looking for? We've been dumbed down to a point of accepting that, hey, a few military people are going to die. That's okay. No, it's not okay.
That's right, because there are brothers and our sisters, our sons and our daughters. They're out there on the front lines, and many cases they're being used for pawns for something that's not a direct war with us.
Correct. I mean, you know, people say, well, they've been fighting over there and doing what they're doing, but it's kept us safe. Well, no one attacked America more frequently before 9/11. Yeah, there were things that absolutely led up to it. We had the World Trade Center attack. But at the end of the day, we were going along for a long time without anybody flying planes into buildings or doing any of that kind of stuff, and then they did, and now they haven't for 17 years. So that, what does that mean? I mean, is that really why? Have we disrupted the network that much? My God, this guy planned this thing, we're told, from a cave, basically, in the mountains of Afghanistan. There's no second guy. There's no... They're just done now, and we continue to remove troops from the area, which in my opinion makes them less safe. But at the end of the day, you want to fight a war. Someone threatens the United States of America. I'm no pacifist.
That's right.
Let's go.
Let's go.
But let's go and let's finish it. Let's go in with an exit plan. And if it's that there's a group of them, but it's really not the government, or it's this or it's that, well, we got to deal with those governments. We got to tell them, look, this is the deal. These people attack this country. They're in your country. You give them to us, we flatten your country if you don't. End of story. Look, I'm going to tell you, and this is a little bit of a hard line on my part, my opinion, not Alan's, but there is no way, right, that any American should drop any blood, never mind give their life, to fight for anybody that doesn't envision real freedom as an outcome. Meaning, we are sitting there and we are fighting for people, and we are handing countries over to the next dictator, to the next person that's going to make women walk behind men, to the next person that's going to throw gay people off the roofs of buildings. What we're doing is ridiculous, it's dangerous, and it's not making people love us. When you bomb neighborhoods, Obama was the drone president.
Yes, he was.
Right?
More bombs in somebody's back pocket than anyone.
Unbelievable. I mean, this guy was unbelievable. He's declaring that the war is over, and he's bombing more places than Bush ever bombed. So he just, removed troops, which I guess is great. Technology saving lives is always a good thing.
That's right.
But my God, Alan, come on. I mean, and to this day, right now, today, we have people, our people, in the Middle East, fighting. And I say, for what? Well, to keep us safe. From what? They've existed over there and hated you for ever. Okay?
Right, that's
Forever. Right? For 300 plus, 400 plus, 500. When we were just settling here, when the Mayflower came here, there were people in that area of the world that didn't like the people that came here.
That's right.
It's life. It is what it is. Are we never going to fight a war? Nah, we're going to fight wars, Alan.
That's right.
It's unfortunate, but look at all the wars we fought, Alan. Look at this. You won't believe this. Let me see something. Did I just grab a email? All right. We'll wait for that one to come in. Hang on a second. Oh, did I just lose that? Oh, wow, now I'm upset about that. Hang on one second here. I had searched out. I'm gonna actually type this back in because I cannot believe I just X'd out of that.
What did you search?
I searched the wars that America has fought in, and it was just absolutely, positively astounding. I couldn't believe what I was reading, to be quite honest with you. I could not believe it. I just couldn't
Well, now,
believe it.
America's not that old
No, it's not.
relative
And
to the rest of the world.
here, this may be the one I had. I won't bust a lot of time on this, but it's just not the link that I wanted. Isn't that just too bad? Isn't that just too bad? Anyway, what it was it was a list starting with the Revolutionary War,
Yes.
and it just kept on going and going, and it listed how many people had passed away because of the war.
Okay.
And it goes through, and I'm going to tell you something, folks. There really isn't a lot of time that this country hasn't been at war. Not a lot of time at all. From the inception, there is not a lot of time at all. So here's what I want to do. At this time, because I don't want it to get too late, I want to stop this talk just for a minute. You email and you call in if you want to. Don't you worry about that. You get right on in on it. But I want to just take a few minutes. I want to let you explain what you've been doing.
Sure.
Now, I know the Freedom Network people kind of know what you've been doing.
That's right.
But, you know, there's some new people out there I know of today. Welcome. I wanted to introduce you all to Alan. Alan was a guy that, I'll just set the stage a little bit, you know, wanted to run for Senate. Took a wild
United
path,
States Senate.
right?
Yeah,
That's
took
right.
a little
Took
path.
Took a wild path.
That's right.
Love his politics. We met, discussed some politics, and I was really hoping that he'd be able to be on a ballot that people could have voted
Yeah,
on.
I didn't make the ballot, but you saw me out there trying, huh? In the
Yeah,
hot
I did.
sun.
I saw
we
you
were
out there
collecting. I was
trying.
collecting signatures
Here I am walking into a Stop and Shop in Milford, Massachusetts.
in Milford.
And all of a sudden, I walk by Alan. He's collecting signatures. Look,
I
it's
need
a tough
signatures. I need signatures.
It's a tough game,
That's
man.
right. It is
It's
a tough game.
But
10,000
one thing I think that
was required.
really gets to me and makes me want to almost makes my blood boil is that we just learned a good lesson, right?
Yeah.
We learned a lesson in our governor's race.
Yes.
And the lesson that we learned was the lesson that we have been talking about here. Not because I'm so smart. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I can look at a political
You think
arena
about things, right?
and I can come up with an opinion on it
Yes.
or a prediction on it. Now, we had Scott Lively here in the studio, okay? And like I said, I was a much bigger fan of this guy after I met him in person.
Okay.
Okay.
Once you meet somebody, sit down, find out
Very
what they're
personable.
thinking. Very personable.
Absolutely, very personable. Was very nice. Great guest. My issue with him starts with his newsletter, The Trumpeter, or whatever he called it.
Okay.
This guy wanted to be Donald Trump. That's what he wanted to be. He couldn't
There's
go
only
out
one
in
Donald
public.
Trump, of
There's
course.
only one.
Only one
This
Donald.
guy couldn't go out in public. He couldn't go on a radio show or a TV show and not liken himself to Donald or pledge allegiance to Donald. And I kept saying to people, this is not a good strategy. Donald Trump lost by 1 million votes in just about 970,000
We like some of his
votes.
policies, but you know, many politicians have some flawed characteristics. Part of the
Sure
game.
they do. Sure they do. And I don't think that he's, to be honest with you,
That's not
any more
anti-Trump.
flawed.
No,
Nah,
there's
he's
any
not any
other
more
human
flawed
being.
than any of them. I'm going to
That's
tell you
right.
something. Trump's had a lot of great wins, and he's done a lot of stupid stuff.
Yes, he has.
One, these perpetual wars that no one will end. Two, is there information on 9/11 out there? He could possibly have some. Why doesn't he share it? Why doesn't he bring that down? There's no charges on Hillary. There ain't going to be any charges on Hillary. There ain't be any charges on anybody. At the end of the day, he's another president. He's on a much longer leash, in my opinion, but he's still on a leash. And I thought Lively was that kind of break a leash guy. He's a constitutional minded, very constitutional minded. He's got degrees.
Obviously,
he's
a very, very educated man.
He's a social
educated.
warrior, though.
Yeah, okay.
He's a Bible thumping
Bible
social warrior
Okay.
that loves Donald Trump. Let's go run in Massachusetts.
Okay.
What the hell is wrong? I mean, you're not going to win. And of course, he did well for what he spent, the votes he got. But like I said, that's the Trump vote. You're going to get that. You're going to fill. My God, you could fill up Gillette Stadium with Trump loyal voters that are going to vote for a candidate just because he says or she says, "I love Donald,"
Right.
and that's all they got to say. They're going to. I'm not denying that the guy has a lot of support here. The problem is you get a guy like Baker, who's that viewed as through media as that middle of the road guy. I personally find him to be a little to the left.
Sure.
But that's just my opinion. And now we're playing with fire here because if we ran someone that was just like Lively, but put the Bible down, because that's going to make a lot of people nervous here in Massachusetts, and forget about proving how loyal you are to Trump. You can come out and say, look, he's done some good, some things I don't agree with. This race really isn't about Donald Trump. This is for the governor of Massachusetts, and I want to run, and I'm running on these issues. But instead, we're jumping in with 2 feet. I love Trump.
Yeah, and first of all, it's not the best political strategy. And second of all, own what you say and forget about who it even came from. If that's what you believe in, say, I'm Mr. Lively, and this is what I believe in. Don't have to attach it to
What
anybody.
gets me, man, is that we had a real chance. When you see the numbers that went out and voted, people were motivated, right?
Yes, right.
And those same people would have been motivated if he didn't have to be Donald Jr.
Right.
If he had talked about those core issues, core issues of constitutionalism and all that stuff, and that jazzes so many people up. Thank God, he would have been that conservative alternative, and you know what? He might have actually beat the person and then had a chance in the final. I was worried that he was going to win that he was going to beat Baker.
Okay.
And because, what's his name? Gonzalez could kill him in a general election. They won't. Listen, I was privileged through friends
Right.
that I can't disclose to see some ads that
Right.
they were going to run.
Okay.
And I also have seen the ads for Warren for
Who was
Jeff
going to run
Deal.
the ads for
Well, the Democrat Party.
Yeah, right.
And now we'll link it also. I saw them for what's going to be now the Warren Jeff Deal race.
who? Sure.
There are ads that don't even have Jeff in them.
Don't have to.
All they have is Trump and Warren. And
Yeah.
they're going to play that to death in Massachusetts.
Right up to the end.
Right to it. They're going to motivate every anti-Trump and trust me that you could get a lot more anti-Trump than pro-Trump people in Massachusetts to the polls.
Absolutely, sure.
So I'm thinking
So
now.
she's like running against Trump
She's
versus
running
running
against
against
Trump.
Jeff Deal. Just skip over Jeff Deal.
Yeah,
Is that what they're
Jeff
doing?
doesn't even matter. He's not going to matter. He won't matter. But he's the Trump guy. So
Right.
all the Trump people are going to say, "Oh my God, how can you say that because it's Trump?"
Sure.
But it doesn't matter. Do math. Can we do math? Do you need a calculator? We're going to be looking at Warren again. I just have a bad feeling we could be looking at Warren again unless somebody steps in and maybe can siphon some people's anti-Trump people only now have Warren to go to. Or do they?
Well, the answer is
You take it from there, Al.
thank you very much. You know, one of the things that I believe in is that whether it's Elizabeth Warren, whether it's someone who's very pro-Trump, the short answer is most people are in the middle. They're not on the far left. They're not on the far right. We're right down the middle, and we need other voices. We need other alternatives so that the people don't just have to keep voting for just the parties. You know what I'm saying? They just keep going Democrat, Republican, It's just this game back and forth, but we're not moving things forward. And so what I'm trying to do as a write-in candidate is give people alternatives. But one thing about Donald Trump that he said during his campaign, he wants to drain the swamp. And whether you're Democrat or Republican, whether you're liberal, moderate, or conservative, there's a lot of people that are just tired with the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. and the politics as they are today. And I want to help drain the swamp. I want to be able to do that. That's part of what I'm doing.
You know what? And I don't. Let's get on the phone. Let's
Okay.
jump on the phone before we run out of time. Give everybody a fair chance here. Good evening. You're on the Freedom Network. How are you?
Hi, Gary. It's John again. My
he's
appointment
back.
was double booked, so I backed
John's
out of
back.
the car and available.
Yeah. Could you do me a favor and not use that Bluetooth?
Yeah. I can pick it up.
I appreciate that, my friend.
Give me just a second.
So, John, you listen in here for a minute, but I was just talking to Alan. Alan is a candidate for U.S. Senate.
Alan, yes.
Yeah, and
Alan Waters, watersforsenate.com.
he's just given a little synopsis when you had called in, and I just want to let him finish that up, and then we can get back to
Sure.
conversating. But just give
Sure,
a
yeah,
listen,
I'll just
John.
listen in.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Hey, John, and the audience, one of my main platform issues that I believe will be one of the best ways to help to drain the swamp is that I signed a pledge to support the Fair Tax Act. We've talked about that on your show before.
explain that
And,
Fair
and the
Tax
Fair
Act.
Tax Act, the movement's over 19 years old, and this is what the Fair Tax does. It replaces the federal income tax with a national sales tax and closes the IRS. Closes the IRS in 3 years. Why? Because if there's no income tax, and we spend over almost $500 million a year trying to comply with an arcane and complicated code, that would go away. We would pay for America with a national sales tax, consumption tax only. Think about it. Think how much fair and balanced that would be, the simplicity of it, but most importantly, how does that help drain the swamp? And the short answer is this. If there is no IRS code, know 70,000 pages of an income tax, Gary, all of a sudden you don't need all these lobbyists because half of what they do is try to get favors in the tax code.
Absolutely. Now, Alan, I'll tell you, look, I don't like taxes at all. I am a very anti-tax kind of a guy.
Well, you don't know what they're doing with our money half the time until it's too late.
No, I don't. So I am willing to go on a journey of changing the tax code,
Sure,
changing the way we look at funding government,
that's right.
getting back to a more as intended way. And I do see this as a viable step, huge step, or veer off in the right direction. I do. I think this is a fantastic idea that not enough people are talking about, because you're right, they're all establishment people.
Well, the establishment needs the tax code in order to get rich, keep their friends rich, and also it just maintains the status quo of the country that's not ours. This is about Gary Rosenberg and Alan Waters and all the people that are listening to this broadcast. This is about we the people. And the way to take America back is by helping to change the way that we're taxed. And I think the fair tax is a great way to work. And I'm the only candidate to sign the pledge, because the other thing is this, as you know, Gary, we have an underground economy. We have people that are doing legal businesses,
Yeah.
but they're evading taxation.
Yes.
And then you have who knows how many billions and billions of dollars of illegal things that people do. It's a dark world out there in the world of illegal things.
It is.
But one thing for sure is, whether it's legal or illegal, whether it's something that is under the table or over the table, whether people are here legally or illegally, if they're buying something in America, they pay for America.
And they're paying. So it does surface a lot of money.
Absolutely.
It does.
It's
And
going to uncover a lot of money that we don't see.
So basically, if you want Allen, right? So basically, you got to look at this election, I think, is what it's going to boil down to, is there's going to be a slew of other people around. You've got Jeff, who is going to, I think, sink on the Trump ship. I just have a bad feeling. You've got to siphon away some of these votes from Warren that are just anti-Trump votes.
I mean, Democrats, traditional Democrats, I can tell they're traditional Democrats that don't like her politics, but they're not necessarily going to vote Republican, but they might vote for a person like myself.
Well, absolutely they may. I mean, absolutely. So how do they vote for you? They got to write you in, right?
You just write your name. It's Alan Waters, 62 Brewster Road, Mashpee. If you don't write the 62 Brewster Road, Mashpee, just write Alan Waters. There's legal cases that said they'll accept that. So underneath Elizabeth Warren and Jeff Deal, write in Alan Waters. There's a space for it, and that will count.
I think it's credible, my friend. I do think it's credible. I do. John, what do you think? You still there, bud? Did I lose him?
Yeah, I'm here. I had to unmute you first.
Oh, that's cool. What do you think about a fair
So,
tax?
well, you know, I'm actually involved in another sitting campaign on the same race that you haven't mentioned.
Go ahead.
And I like Alan's
can
fair
mention.
tax. I'm familiar with it.
Very
I can
good.
see how it would help. But I think our government has even bigger size problems. And we might even be able to get away with no tax at all, sales tax or income. But
Well, yeah, and I mean, that's
maybe
kind of
for
what I
another
was...
discussion. But you'd have to trim down a lot of things.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. I mean, to me, it's
They're
a
not
it's a
part of the
path.
original
It's a
charter.
path, and this is you. But you got to start on a path. You can't just arrive at your
Oh yeah, it's
destination.
a great idea.
You
and
gotta drive
I even saw the fair tax video. You know, there was a viewing of it. You know, and a special viewing in the theater. I went to see it. You know, and
So who are you working with?
I'm familiar.
You can say it.
You
if
can
you
say
want.
it. Oh,
Who are you
absolutely.
working
I'm not uncomfortable.
Okay,
Go ahead.
this is an iconoclast guy who's really, really sticking it to Warren. His name is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai.
Dr.
with.
Shiva.
Dr. Shiva. So
Yeah.
how do we now see? There's another one,
And
right?
he's not in the debates, and he's on the ballot. You know, with all volunteer signatures, he got on the ballot.
Yes,
Yeah,
he did.
He did. No,
And
he
he's
did a
worked
good
hard
job.
at it.
He did a good
That's
job
right.
at it. He has worked hard at it. I have some issues with him. I need more explanations with him and the shenanigans that went on with him and his girl or his wife. I have to get my head around
Okay.
that. I got to get my head around that, man. He really bombed on Howie Carr. I mean, he bombed
Well,
big time.
he was ambushed by Howie Carr.
Well, but
and
don't
he's a
forget that
very,
he did go.
dynamic
Wait a minute, John. Let's just.
personality,
But
you know?
John, he went after Carr first, though. He did go after him.
Oh, I think he should have.
But he went after him first, and Howie invited him on. He didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, remember, Carr was the guy who, according to some stories, snuck Deal into the debate practice event to try to get a handshake with Trump. And Shiva analyzed the photo that Deal published of him shaking Trump's hand. And
I've seen that.
A shop
You've
job.
seen that.
It's not legit.
Mhm.
So what happened? So what did happen? Can you speak to it?
From what I understand, Howie Carr was invited to this event. Deal was not. And Deal's been kind of like not sure whether he's really a Trumper or a fake Trumper. That's what Shiva calls him, a fake Trumper.
A fake
Because he's aligned with Charlie Baker, who is a never Trumper.
Yeah. See, this is what's
So
happening. See what's happening in this race?
Mhm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. What has become has become a mess.
And Shiva took that photo that Deal published and had Tech Fusion, the California firm that analyzes digital photography, and they declared it a Photoshop job,
So
not a legitimate photo.
I don't love Jeff Deal personally. He fought against a pay raise that I believe he took. Some people say he gives it to charity. Some people say he doesn't. To me, if he was against it, he should have just stayed against it. I don't mind his politics. I think he's done pretty well for his district. But I just think that he's too wrapped up in this Trump stuff. I think everybody's too wrapped up in this Trump
He's
stuff.
supposed to lose, and because remember, Charlie Baker is aligning himself with Maura Healey and Elizabeth Warren.
Which is a little bit rough on the eyes, isn't it?
So Deal
Yes,
is
it is.
supposed to lose, in my opinion.
You know, I just don't get the whole reason why this all has to be about Trump. The only guy I see really sitting around and talking about its seriousness. All right, first of all, these slogans and all this stuff that this is it's the Trump era. I mean, everything is a slogan and this a fake Indian and this is this. Look, Elizabeth Warren, in my opinion, is political scum. If I just got to put it the way that I think of it. Not as a person, I won't judge her. That's up to another entity. But as a politician, she is a zero. She's a socialist. She shouldn't be in office. She shouldn't even be allowed to be in office. But I got a guy
Yeah, she's
like
not qualified.
no, I got a guy like Alan that's sitting here that's talking about issues. He's talking about taxes. He's talking about this stuff. Everybody else is out there making these creative campaigns to say, I love Trump, I hate Trump, 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 Trump. It's Massachusetts. People don't like him here. So what is the obsession?
Yeah.
What is the obsession? I got a guy sitting here that's really trying to take a look. And if we as political activists, okay, a guy like you, John, a guy like myself, people that get involved with this stuff, I think if we find guys like Alan and we don't, who cares about calling people fake Indians and this? This is all just ego.
Shiva's doing that.
bull,
That's
you
a
know.
marketing campaign, and it's a deprogramming meme because he doesn't believe in diversity quotas, and he's using that because she used it. And he is using his own status as an untouchable dark-skinned Indian to present something that breaks the programming. That's why that fake Indian, real Indian thing, in my opinion, works, because it's a red pill thing, like wakes people up to the ridiculousness of it. And he then puts the headdress, photoshops the headdress on Elizabeth Warren in the poster, and it's to show how she put on the mantle that to get into Harvard as a Native American, and she can't prove that.
Right, but why not just say it? But more importantly, issues. What is the desired result? Like, do people really think that if he puts an ad out or puts on the side of a bus that he's
Not just that, he has
real
a lot of other
Indian, he
stuff.
gets
He has,
votes for that? I mean, where do they think the
A lot
votes
of
are going to come from?
accomplishments, this fella. He has a company called Cytosolve that helps to model drugs in the computer on Cambridge in his $10 million building there. And it speeds up drug approvals by modeling out the drug interactions that would be negative drugs. And so he's got a lot of accomplishments.
I'm sure he
email thing
does.
was a 50,000-line program he wrote in Fortran when he was 14 years old.
And what is he?
Turned
He
chip.
owns a copyright or something on email, but did he say that he invented email? Is that his claim to fame?
He has a copyright on a program that in the 5.3 era of CPM or DOS-based computers
Yeah.
had to be 5 characters .3, so it's email.exe. That's what he called it.
John, is
He
his
modeled it after the physical mail program in
It-
the hospital he was an intern at when he was 14 years old. He's a smart kid.
Oh, he's definitely smart. John, is his plan here to try to are we trying to out Trump deal? Is that see? This is why I am like going out of my mind because
really.
I'm
He
watching
wants
you
to- he
guys
wants to
put
stop
Warren
the
back in the
food with
frickin' Senate. I don't
Monsanto.
get it.
He wants to. He exposed Monsanto. He offered his $50 million building, $10 million building to Monsanto and his Corvette if they can prove him wrong, and they haven't taken him up on it.
Oh, I'm
But
going to
he's
tell
saying
you.
that Warren voted to protect Monsanto from lawsuits, the Monsanto Protection Act, and she's allowing them through GMOs and other things to poison our food, and he believes in natural cures, like more of the holistic, approach, like the health food store
Look.
approach to health.
I'm all with him on
Preventative
this
health with
Monsanto stuff.
good
All that
food
stuff,
and healthy
John,
food, not
is
modified
that's all
food,
junk. That's all
but,
crap.
things that might have chemicals that could give you cancer or whatever in it.
Yeah, I firmly see when he wants to talk issues, he starts to get my attention. But when he starts
Yeah.
to try to out Trump the Trump guy that wasn't a Trump guy, because Trump. I'm talking
No,
to
well, he's
Alan.
not-
I'm sorry, guys. I
But
want
that works,
issues.
but
I
You want
want
issues, want some
Trump, though,
issues,
maybe.
yes, right. Part of my the fair tax in draining the swamp is this. Not only did I sign the pledge to support the Fair Tax Act, but there's a movement in Massachusetts, American Promise, AmericanPromise.net, and they're the organization or the movement that supports the 28th Amendment to get corporate money out of our politics.
Amen.
And so if we can drain the swamp somewhat, we can then starve the swamp by keeping corporate money out of that. And that's how we, the people, can get more of America back
It's like a
than the big
1-2
money
punch.
interest.
It's like a
That's what I'm
1-2
trying
Right,
to do.
yeah. If you can reduce lobbyists, you're doing it.
Sure.
Helps. Yeah, absolutely.
And so here's this guy, I'm speaking of myself in the third person, from Mashpee, Massachusetts. I didn't make the ballot, but I'm still want to get the message out because I think the message is important. We need to continue, because if not this round, we just continue to talk about it for the next round.
Got to
And we
get
keep-
the
we-
issues
yeah,
out there.
yeah,
Yes,
and stick with the
got to
issues.
get the issues out there. Hey, I want to thank you very much, and I would be very interested if you're working with him, John. I'd love to get him in the studio and actually talk some issues and not about Donald Trump for once. Would be a fantastic thing. He's more than welcome to come. I always give all candidates any time that they want. So I thank you for calling.
Sure.
Send me a message if you want to put something together
Now,
with him.
just remember,
I'd
back
love
on
to meet him.
9/11, remember this. Think about
Yeah.
this one. They're really after Trump, right? They've got a hard on to knock him out of office, right?
They seem
Guess
to.
what? They didn't do a forensic criminal investigation of the crime scenes of 9/11. And guess who prevented that at the head of the FBI? Robert Mueller.
Well, that's a good note to leave it on. Hey, thanks, John. I'll talk to you
Think
soon
about
out
it.
there.
So maybe he's going to go after 9/11 truth and justice. And
Oh,
they
if he
wanna
does
really
that,
wanna get rid of him 'cause
he'll
gonna-
get my
he's gonna
attention.
hang.
Yep. All right, John. I gotta go, but I'll see you soon, my
All right.
friend. All right. Thanks for calling back. Yeah, he'll get my attention there. Look, I've said this a lot of times. Trump's done a lot of good stuff. Trump's done a lot of stupid stuff. But if you're in the state of Massachusetts and your claim to fame is I'm the most Trump-like guy,
Yeah.
then you're not going to win. We just saw it. I warned of this with Lively. I'm going to warn of this with both of these other two guys that are running. I'm going to give you 60 seconds, all to you, and then I got to get out of the way because I got to move or Paul will start throwing stuff at me.
Got to start to move out the way. Anyway, again, I'm Alan Waters, Mashpee, Massachusetts. I'm running for United States Senate. I was the first Republican in the race. I left the Republican Party because I believe that it's better to be independent because now I don't have to be partisan. I can look at what's the best for the people, whether it's from the liberal side to the conservative side. But the most important thing is, in order for us to get America back, we have to change what goes on in the status quo of Washington, D.C. We have to kind of weaken the duopoly between the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, because, Gary, there's very little difference
Very little.
between Democrats and Republicans in the establishment, except team colors, the mascots, whether the rich or poor get the welfare, and what team can outspend the other to increase our $22 trillion debt. And so, vote for Alan Waters. If you don't want to vote for Elizabeth Warren, if you don't want to vote for a Trump-leaning Republican, then go with the independent. Write in Alan Waters, 62 Brewster Road, Mashpee, or just write in Alan Waters, and that vote will count. Thanks.
All right, folks, this has been the Freedom Network. We're going to talk war next week and a few local things. I'll see you soon. It's been the Freedom Network.
Because we are the brave. Yes, we are the brave. We'll fight till we